Welcome to Movie of the Year, the only podcast that has the science and the screaming to determine what is the single greatest movie of any given year. This season will focus on 1975. Tonight we'll be getting through the entire first round. 32 movies will enter, but only the Elite 8 will move on and compete for the rest of the season. I am your host of the entire 75 season, Mike Gravano, and with me, your illustrious competitors, Greg.
Hello.
And Ryan.
What are you doing a voice there, bud? Do you think that voice sounds cool? What are you are you trying to be Mr. Megorium of the voice. Wonder Emporium? You think that's a good voice?
I honestly, I think we should do more character work on the show, and I really like that voice.
Oh, is the character fucking stupid idiot? I would say that he sounds like somebody on FM radio taking a poopy on a squatty potty.
You know
Ryan
what
is really taking advantage of the fact that there's no points given or removed in this episode.
You can always,
hello, 1975.
You can always remember, though, Mike, right? Because next week is just a short time away.
Well,
you know what his voice really is, though? Every era, we don't talk about this enough on the show, but every era has not just its own like genres of movies and everything, but has their own type of trailers.
yes.
And the 70s had this type of trailer where a narrator voice sort of explains to you what is going to happen in the movie and who some of the people in the movie are.
His name was Jim Ross.
Yeah.
And he's got a bone to pick with the Upper West Side.
And I think that was still a pretty big way to do previews right up until like we were kids. And then now, obviously, the way is you just like blast like wah at people and intersperse like nonsensical scenes that nobody understands how they're connected. But yeah, that's what that voice was.
In fact, if I was doing a trailer now, I would just include scenes from movies that aren't part of the movie that I'm trailering.
Yeah.
Just like 2001, here we go.
This is kind of the vibe we were going for. It's like a vision board for the movie.
Yeah.
A pastiche.
We're pitching the audience the movie right now. It's what we did at the studio. It's what we'll do for you to get you to watch it.
It's what Dad did.
It's what Dad did. Gentlemen, how do you feel about going into 1975, the oldest year we've ever done?
Well, I'm nervous as fuck, Mike. We weren't even alive.
Is that why you were taking it out on me?
I was not taking it out on you. That was all specifically because of you were being a dumb shit. Now,
I said, welcome to Movie of the Year when, I need some water. No, I'm a pro. Just hit the gas. And then I got mocked for my professionalism, and that's fine.
I feel like right in here, somewhere in the 70s, right, is where you call it the golden era of cinema, or at least one of them. And so I think it was a little, I don't know, intimidating. Plus, we weren't alive at the time. It's actually kind of hard to find a time when at least one of us wasn't alive. I mean, we go back quite a ways, but 75 does manage to
like
do
the old guard does.
Yeah. Well, this was the one year we were all dead. We took the year off.
The 1 year we were all dead just to sort of like recoup, figure everything out.
I think there's a million things that are going on in this year. There's going to be two things that are going to be hard to not notice. One, George Lucas said, I don't know if they're down with my idea. I'm going to start ILM. And two, Spielberg makes Jaws. Those two things, I think, overwhelm the year. But in that year, we have a lot of classic hits. We have a lot of insane fucking hits. Like, we have a lot of, like, what the fuck? That could only be a hit in that year.
Right.
But I think we're going to be a little bit overwhelmed by the fact that, like, this is the year that ruined movies forever. Yes?
Yeah, it feels like it's the year of breaking down what movies were before they rebuilt what movies should be. And so it's just a lot of meandering. Is that how would you pin down the essence of 1975, Greg?
I guess it's that. It's the handoff, like, between the classic era of cinema and the blockbusters coming in with Jaws, and maybe the beginning of a dumbing down of cinema a little bit, if that's actually something that happened. I guess for a wider audience, it feels like in the late 60s and early 70s, like, everybody was watching good movies, and nowadays, like, you don't run into people that watch good movies. You run into people that watch big movies, but not many people are like, oh yeah, I definitely saw Roma, like one of the best movies to come out in the last 5 years. There might be peripherally aware of it or something, but there was this time in the 70s where that's like what everybody did, but around the time then Jaws comes out, right? And we have a legit blockbuster, and it's like, okay, here comes the new thing, which is just like loud and, more violent and more popcorn than you could possibly shovel in.
Hell yeah.
I have spent the last week catching up on 1975 movies, and I watched some Roger Corman movies. I watched some movies that were like...
You were going deep.
Yeah, I watched some movies with some budgets that are roughly the same size as this current episode of this podcast. And Jaws is not that different from them.
Yeah.
Except for the fact that Jaws made $300 million. and then
$75?
started this thing where like, oh, we need to recreate Jaws. Mm-hmm. But there's Jaws in so many ways, in more ways than not, is a B movie that was all around in 1975.
Well, that's the big change, right? Is like they figured out like B movie doesn't mean dog shit. B movie, you can figure out.
And it
how
doesn't
to make
mean Seinfeld's B jokes in the movie B movie.
It's how do you put like a fresh sheen on a B movie and sell it to everybody? Because that's what most movies that do boffo box dollars now.
And
box dollars.
They need to be boffo, Mike. They need to be boffo. And then like a couple years after this, we're going to see it with Exorcist, where that's a genre movie that like I guess we're going to give like Best Picture awards to, and like that. No, we're all going to think that that's wonderful.
Never again.
But yeah, honestly, like not since then, right? But like,
I mean, do you think there's any other Oscar-winning movie that has the line "Your mother sucks cocks in hell"?
Well, yeah, I remember in The Artist when that was the one line of dialogue that you could hear. But yeah, it was like these shitty movies that no one's ever going to watch are now making money, and now we're just going to make those over and over and over again. But Jaws is a B movie. You know, it's a shitty movie. The other thing I want to talk about is we're like this is sort of the end of America taking its crown back. You know, and saying, like, we are the king of movies again. And this is the end of it. I think that Jaws is sort of the end of, like, now Europe and other countries or continents can have this crown back because now we're all about the blockbuster. And we're at the very end of these people wanting to come to America and make movies because America is where it happens.
The highbrow art movies go other places after 75.
And we had it for, like, 6 years. For 6 years, like 69 to 75, this is where people came to make movies. And then after Jaws, they were like, "Oh, I get it. You're into sharks."
America was like
your friend Bruce out of here.
Yeah.
We want to see people's legs just get whipped off.
Like, I don't want to sit and watch the human condition happen over a quiet dinner. Give me that shark.
There are a ton of directors that we could do this year that are like very, very important.
Yeah.
That you know, like came to America or had popular movies in America at this time because Jaws hadn't come out yet. This is why people always shit on Jaws, is because they ruined the artistic merit of America forever, like until this day. And Mike says, hell yeah.
Fast and Furious, my favorite franchise, so fuck it.
Think about what the implications of like the Jaws part of the Universal Studios ride being like such an iconic part of that. Yeah. Like they literally took that movie and made it into a theme park.
I'm pumped for Jaws because I haven't seen it since I was 7. And
it's still scary as shit, right?
I'm gonna find a beach. I'm gonna find one of those special beaches that puts up the screen and you're sitting in the floater. I want that so bad. Just pissing the whole movie.
Don't you have enough trauma in your life, brother? Like we just got through the worst year ever. I don't want to go bob in the water.
I want trauma I control.
Also, I want my mom in the water with a little fin on her, saying, "You're my least favorite child, and I hate you."
There's legit sharks out there, homie. Like you might get bit by a real shark during this movie.
Oh, they really went all out for this experience.
The other thing that I'm super interested in is how much distrust in, like, you know, like we were supposed to believe that the government was good, parents are good, police are good,
and that parents understood,
and that parents definitely understood. And I think that's still reverberating in this year. After Watergate, like we do not have what
conspiracy movies or
All the President's Men in this year.
And we thought parents understood until 1992.
I do think that there's a lot of paranoia going on in this movie about how shitty America actually is, but like how far do you want to say it? I think Jaws is actually one of those movies.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
but
this is like the beginning of the death of expertise, the beginning of like the death of believing anything the government or any organization of the government had anything to say.
No matter what authority is, it's probably wrong. Yeah. And you're going to feel this throughout this year.
These
Pennywise wrote their infamous song "Fuck Authority" about the films of 1975.
No joke. These movies stormed the Capitol January 6th. Like these movies all voted for Trump and think the election got stolen. It all starts here, and that's why our parents have garbage brain, because it starts with movies like this and it never gets resolved later.
I wish my parents watched these movies instead of voting the way that they do and thinking the way they do. But no, they did not watch these movies, and I'm excited to.
Well, Listeners, if you thought 1975, surely they're not going to throw their pinko lefty politics down my throat. You were wrong.
You
we are who
idiot.
we are, and we definitely will figure out how to connect each one of the movies that ends up in here to today. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, gosh darn it, are we starting this bracket?
Hey guys, thank you so much for listening so far. And let me just tell you that everything ahead of this commercial is much better than what came before it. That's my guarantee. While I have you here, let me tell you about a website. It's called yourpopfilter.com. And it's everything you need that's related to Pop Filter. Everything Mike, everything Ryan, everything Greg, everything Cassie, everything is there at yourpopfilter.com. While you're there, go to yourpopfilter.com/Amazon. Make that your new Amazon bookmark and do your shopping from there. That way, we get a little piece of the action and Amazon doesn't. Make sure you're also listening to everything that Pop Filter has to offer, which includes the Superhero Show, a podcast that covers every single TV show that's based on a comic book or comic book property, and Movie of the Year, where we sit down and try and figure out what is the single greatest movie of any given year. That's Superhero Show, that's Movie of the Year, and that's yourpopfilter.com. Rate, subscribe, review. Bye.
Gentlemen, round one, battle one is a doozy. It might all come down to this. It's your number 1 seed, Jaws, versus your number 32 seed, Escape from Witch Mountain, parentheses, not the Rock one.
Okay, so the Rock one was a Disney remake. The first one was a Disney movie that Disney made in 1975. And guys, this was a weird time for Disney.
Yeah, is this like dark Disney era?
Yeah, like, they were not popular at all. Has anybody seen the Aristocats? Like, what the fuck? What the fuck were they doing then?
It seemed like they
Being
maybe
racist.
wanted to have a little bit of edge. You know, maybe like it's not your dad's Disney. And I have to say, Escape from Witch Mountain, that's a pretty cool name.
Wait, Witch Mountain?
It's a
That one over there. The one with the witch on it.
tall one.
But Jaws, I don't know. Would we get in trouble if we bounced Jaws in the first round?
The tagline for Escape to Witch Mountain says, does not star The Rock, ... yet.
Not yet.
Well, I like their forward thinkingness. So I think this could be the quickest battle.
Yeah.
Probably. I don't think
Why don't we move Jaws right along?
Jaws moves right along. Your next battle 2 of round 1 is your 16th seed, The Day of the Locust, which is Ryan's pick, versus your 17th seed, Nashville.
Oh, crap.
See, okay.
This is a tough matchup. You got kind of hosed.
Yeah, I got hosed here because I want to talk about directors all season long.
Yeah.
And this might be the most Altman-esque movie in Altman's career. This is...
Nashville.
We're Altman fans here. We're Altmen.
We have like 26 main characters all talking
Love
over
that.
each other because that's what they do.
Love that.
Yeah.
That reminds me of my friends.
That is actually the movie.
It's a filmed podcast.
That was the one I was specifically thinking of with the trailer from earlier. The trailer is like, okay, we understand there's a lot of characters in this movie, so in the trailer, we're just going to tell you who they all are. And then they proceed to reel off the relationships between 24 different characters.
And they don't even have
You
time
can
to
learn
announce
something
them all.
in the theater.
But like, I love a preview who's like, look, we already know your issue with the movie, right?
Yeah.
Too many characters. Here they all are.
It's almost like they're saying right off the top, like, you're going to have to see this movie a couple times. This movie is a little bit like homework, but it's also going to be pretty good.
And
Remember how homework sometimes rules? That's Nashville.
I love it for now because it's not just like, it's all about 75 stuff. Like, you know, like you can see all of the people talking about these topics that are of the day, but just that idea of making a movie like this is so 1975. You know, like I don't care about plot and how I need a pro
shaggy
tag.
meandering,
And yeah,
just like their hair.
a real character study. And then Day of the Locust, which is a movie about early Hollywood, actually manages to feel like one of the most 75 movies. Like when we talk about Dog Day Afternoon, there are so many feels in Day of the Locust that are just like Dog Day Afternoon. Just that pressure and everybody like sort of right on the edge of freaking out at any moment. And then
because the Cold War,
and then
probably.
finally freaking out. And I feel like the influences of Day of the Locust you see in like Brazil, you see in a lot of movies that we're very much into, kind of absurd. And also Mulholland Drive is one that I think Day of the Locust directly influences. So it's like big for us.
Every phrase you've said, Greg, has made me flip flop which one I want to go. I was like, well, if Dog Day Afternoon does it, do we also need Day of the Lucas? I was like, oh, well, if it influenced Brazil and Mulholland Drive, maybe we should. So we have to vote. Ryan?
Mike, I think that now is the time that you as the host have to start making the Patreon bracket.
Yeah.
And I do think that Day of the Locust should be there. And I'm also a little nervous that Nashville should be there. I hope it makes it to the 8. It should make it to the 8. But it's definitely Nashville.
Definitely Nashville. Greg.
Yeah, I have to say I'm doing this a little bit on reputation, but when I saw like the list of movies, I have not seen Nashville and I didn't get to watch it before now, but like it was the one because I couldn't see it for free. So it would have cost me $14 to see it, and I was like, dang. But
not until I have
we'll
to.
pay that $14 later.
Yeah, well, I figured let's see if it makes it to the final 8, right? But I do want to see it. I do want to do a show about it, so I'm going to vote for Nashville.
All right, Nashville moves on. Day of the Locust, maybe we'll see you in the Patreon show. Battle 3 of round 1 is your number 8 seed, Love and Death, versus your 25 seed, the Stepford Wives.
All right, so we do have to talk about something here, Mike.
This might be a big upset, seed-wise.
Do we just say that if Bill Cosby made a movie, that it's just out?
Yep, that's how I feel.
Greg?
Which one did Bill Cosby make?
Did Bill Cosby direct the Stepford
Woody
Wives?
Allen made his Bergman movie. His Russian literature Bergman movie with Love and Death. And it is great. And I've heard the Stepford Wives is terrible, but it is so influential that it became a term, right? It's like
that's the thing. Like I mean, people still talk about it all the time, but the reviews of it, both of in its time and now, are so tepid. Not terrible. Because that would be interesting.
Which is worse.
Not really good because that would be interesting, but just so bland. So it's like...
Which I know what that means. That means interesting ideas, boring movie.
It does one thing well, which is you know already what it is because we're so far... Like, everyone knows now what the twist is with the movie, too, so it doesn't offer us that either.
I do think there's movies like Planet of the Apes where if you know the twist, it's still a really cool movie.
Yes, yeah.
Stepford Wives is probably going to suck. But Love and Death was directed by Woody Allen.
Yeah, if he wanted us to review his films, maybe I don't know, do all the
should have thought ahead
did throughout your life.
Yeah, it's going to ruin the experience of watching it. It's going to ruin the experience of making the show. We're not going to be able to talk about anything else, and Mike's going to get annoyed.
It would be an impossible film to
I watched Love and Death a long time ago, but Mike, what is Scott Aukerman's thing?
You can keep watching stuff if it's from before you found out.
So not before he did it, but before you found out. And so you guys would obviously be watching Love and Death with this on your brain the entire time. I mean, like, does that dooms all Woody Allen movies in all brackets from here on out?
We're saying, I think we're saying it here. We cannot will.
I mean, and we're gonna probably have to have this conversation for a bunch of different creepy acts, and then like end up separating them and some gross guys.
I mean, there's a Kubrick movie in the bracket.
Yeah, gross guys.
So I mean, but I guess we are making gradations. It's like, can we possibly talk about it without constantly engaging with that topic? And with this director, there's just no chance.
And it's not Manhattan. It's not.
Yeah.
This guy playing this guy.
It's not Annie Hall.
Going out with a 17-year-old girl in that is the plot of the movie. This covers other stuff, but still, it's going to be impossible to get around.
Yeah, I think it would be an hour and a half of what we're doing right now.
So the Stepford Wives, a movie that none of us want to watch.
It's just gonna get bounced next.
I loved Disturbing Behavior as a kid, which is what if the Stepford Wives was with teenagers,
but
and had paranoia. Everyone's coming to get me.
We talked about this a little bit up.
And had Katie Holmes.
We talked about this a little bit up at the top, but even if the movie's not great, if it helps embiggen our understanding of 75, then I think it's a perfectly cromulent choice because we don't. I mean, it's not going to win, and so that kind of sucks. But it's just nice to get sort of a picture of what everybody was into in 75, which in part was this movie, The Stepford Wives.
And I think that a movie about, hey, why do we have these wives to deal with? Why don't we get robots? Will probably teach us a little bit about 1975. Like that, it seems very much on.
When you found out the scientist is the hero, that tells us something.
Yeah, 75 has some issues with ladies, as we're going to talk about with every single movie because it's unavoidable. But
as you may hear every week for the next 10 weeks.
Greg, we got to vote.
Yeah, so I'm going to say Stepford Wives.
I'm going to say Love and Death.
It's clearly Stepford Wives. All right. Before we take a break, let's do one more battle. Your fourth battle of the first round is your number 9 seed Shampoo versus your 24th seed Dark Star, the place I used to get Magic the Gathering cards and comic books.
Dude, yeah. Dark Star is weirdly factored in all of our lives even before we knew each other because it was like one of the biggest comic book stores right around us.
If you grew up in Huntington Beach, for sure. So Dark Star is directed by John Carpenter and is a sort of like high budget version of his low budget movie before this, like a student film, almost like Evil Dead 2 is to Evil Dead.
Mm-hmm. You're doing a
so
hard good
not
pitch
quite
for
a
Dark
not
Star.
quite a sequel, not quite a remake.
But I think Shampoo is such a fucking, like, I know what 1975 is in 1975. Like, I'm going to sum it up right now for you. In the time with Warren goddamn Beatty and, like, the director of Harold and Maude and, it all takes place on the night that Nixon will he be reelected or not? I think it's really hard. And it was, like, a huge box office hit. I think it's hard to not pick Shampoo here.
I saw
So for
Warren Beatty.
Greg,
I saw Warren Beatty outside a hotel in London.
What?
Like 4 years ago. I just walked by him. I was walking out of the hotel he was walking
And you're only telling us
into,
now?
and I'm only telling you now. But I saw him for maybe 2 seconds as an old man. That is the coolest person I've ever seen with my actual human eyes. And you could just tell right away. Like, celebs really have it, you guys. They really have the magic.
There is that X factor. And so for dummies like me, who their whole life based on titles alone, Shampoo is not Soap. Those are different movies.
Well, Soap's not even a movie, big guy.
That's a TV show. It's
That's
also
one of the
not
most
Soap
important
Dish.
TV shows of all time.
Soap Dish. I've confused those three things my entire
But
life.
here's what is crazy. Shampoo was based on the life of a celebrity hairdoer who then went on to marry Barbra Streisand and then went on to become one of the most powerful producers in Hollywood history.
Oh, shit. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
The movie's about that?
No, the movie's not about that.
It's just about his life, but then he later goes on to do this thing.
It's just
we
about
could
the
have
time
Shampoo, too?
when he was just a hairdresser. But then the guy who it's like Burt Kreischer and Van Wilder. I don't know if you guys have heard about
they should
those
probably
two.
make a sequel.
It's all
because they're making the spiritual sequel to Van Wilder when Burt Kreischer hung out with the mob accidentally of Russia.
But like,
for a
if you
long
guys have seen Harold and Maude, it is a comedy, but it's sort of
isn't it just about him just banging everybody?
Yeah,
and then coming to
Shampoo.
terms.
That's hilarious.
And like 3 members of the same like sort of family.
Yeah, dude. He's
And, like,
banging everybody.
Do you think this is funny? And then the audience is sort of like, no. And then Warren Beatty realizes that you said no at the end, and it's a lot to deal with. And the whole Nixon thing, I think that we could do a whole show about like how much did that like voting time mean as much as like when Biden beat Trump or when Trump beat Hillary.
All right. Voting time. It is John Carpenter's remake of his student film versus everything they just said. Ryan.
Shampoo.
What will it be? Greg.
Shampoo. I almost
What will
watched
it
it,
be?
but I didn't have time.
All right. We got 1 for Dark Star and 2 for Shampoo. So I'll just be putting Dark Star right
I mean,
into that
we can go
Patreon
to Dark Star
bracket.
after this if you want, Mike.
I do need
Just
new
buy
dice.
a bunch of boosters.
Pokemon the Gathering.
Come on, Ryan.
No,
You're
shut
phoning
up,
it in.
you
They
old
sold comic books. I
fart.
bought most of the Clone Saga there.
We are going to take a break, and when we come back, that's right, it's Battle 5. Taste buds, we are back with the 5th matchup, as I previously hinted at, and by hinted at, I mean said. It is Dog Day Afternoon versus French Connection 2?
Yeah.
I mean, all right, couple things. One, we sort of do the bracket so as to not have sequels.
Uh-huh.
And 2, this has been a pretty, like, the original director, William Friedkin, who also hates Exorcist 2. Like, this is just his thing. He makes hit movies and then moves on to talk shit on the sequels. Has said that this is a terrible movie. The problem is that it does have Gene Hackman. And I don't like a season of movie of the year without Gene Hackman.
So
Yeah.
you've never liked any of our seasons?
Royal Tenenbaums, bitch.
I have to
that one.
say, for a movie that has been 100% absolutely forgotten, and in fact, when you hear French Connection 2, right away your brain goes, what? Really?
Most movie people will say, no, not a movie.
No. That's
But-
from 30 Rock.
It actually has okay-ish reviews, and the French Connection is like an amazing movie, so even if this is like a pale comparison, which it most certainly is, That could still be an okay time.
I have a question though along the Woody Allen lines. So Dog Day Afternoon is clearly moving on, but
Yeah.
let's talk about this for a
not.
little bit. If we're not doing Woody Allen, are we doing movies about how violent, disgusting cops are awesome and portrayed as heroes?
Yeah, because I
But
think we can tackle that.
What movie is that?
French Connection too.
Oh, yeah. I was just
No.
saying the cops do not come out well in Dog Day Afternoon.
Yeah,
They seem
I
like
was also
fucking
confused. I was like, I guess I don't know.
bumbling executioners.
No, they're
Like, will
all
we do
fat
Dirty
donut.
Harry sometimes?
Yeah.
Well, we could do Dirty Harry. I could see that.
I mean, we might do Dirty Harry, but that's because it was so big in that year that we have no choice. If we have a choice, I'm guessing that, like, if we have a choice with Woody Allen, I'm guessing that we're probably going to go the other way. And French Connection, the actual good movie, from 2 years before that, that's a movie that probably would make the Elite Eight, and we would have to deal with the violent disgustingness of white cops the entire time. I'm saying if it's a sequel, let's get around it.
And especially like this
This
French Connection
Dog Day
2,
Afternoon, as you call
French
it.
Connection 2 isn't going up against Escape from Witch Mountain, right? It's
Right.
going
Yeah.
up against one of the movies that was always going to be in one of the Elite Eight. I'm predicting it now that Dog Day Afternoon makes it.
And if we're looking for the 75iest movie,
Yeah.
Dog Day Afternoon is the 75iest movie. So
And
even
the-
more than French Connection do.
And the 2020 first-ish movie.
Yeah.
Like, do you know who Al Pacino is fighting for? Like, do you know the reason for him going to the bank? Like, and robbing it? Like, these are all very topical, interesting things right now that I think are ballsy for then and ballsy for now.
I do have to say, I think people misremember his state of mind because his avowed reason for doing that is for Leon. But this is obviously such a bent person. I can't wait till we talk about Dog Day Afternoon because
bent.
you get to see his whole rationale, and then you find out that he hasn't even been talking to his wife for 6 months.
Right.
But yeah, honestly, you would think watching Dog Day Afternoon that dealing with the issues of like homosexuality or trans life would be worse in 75, and you'd be right, but only incrementally.
Right.
I can't believe how much only slightly better it is now than it was in 1975.
That's the honest PSA. It gets slightly better.
It gets slightly better. The language is less rude and crude, but the idea of you're still less of a person in my mind, that has stayed directly from 75, I think, until a lot of transphobic and homophobic people now.
Also, now that we've entered the 70s, I would like to establish a John Cazale rule where we're going to do all of his movies. He was in Dog Day Afternoon, The Deer Hunter, Godfather, and Godfather Part 2. And then he died. And so...
Is that Leon?
No, that's his partner.
Oh, dude, that guy is
Yeah.
interesting too. Sal?
Yeah, that's Sal.
And obviously, okay, Sal's whole like appearance in that movie is obviously very influential on a movie we did, Joker. He basically looks exactly like Joker in that movie.
Yeah.
Save
Well,
it for the show.
Well, I just saw it and I'm excited. I'm glad that we're going to have a chance to
He
talk
recently
about
had a Dog
Yeah.
Day Afternoon.
Yeah.
Greg is ready to do all these movies right now because he watched them all this week anyway. So it sounds like Dog Day Afternoon is moving on. No need to vote.
By a hair's breadth.
Battle 6, round 1 is Rollerball versus Picnic at Hanging Rock.
All right, so why don't we dive into Rollerball real quick?
I saw Rollerball with Chris Klein and Slipknot and liked that in high school.
Can we all admit two things about this movie? One, this is iconic box cover art from our time walking through movie stores and theaters. And two, we're not going to, but we all kind of want to see this movie, right? Don't we?
Absolutely.
Not because it's good, but because it looks sort of dumb and interesting.
In a future where war no longer exists, there will be the game. And that game, it's mostly roller skating, guys.
Also, I want to talk about Norman Jewison's directing career real quick. Moonstruck, In the
Hell
Heat of the
yeah.
Night, Fiddler on the Roof, Jesus Christ Superstar, so covered the Christians and the Jews, and then Rollerball.
And
What a guy.
he did the Thomas Crown Affair?
Thomas Crown Affair, and then The Hurricane with Denzel Washington.
Wow. What an interesting catalog. But man, Moonstruck, that's awesome. I love Moonstruck.
Moonstruck rolls. We haven't done Moonstruck's year, right?
No,
No.
otherwise we would have fucking talked
It's
about
That's
it.
87,
80-something,
yeah.
I assume.
In the Heat of the Night is like You Will Call Me Mr. Tibbs, like a very famous white cop, black cop movie.
Sidney Poitier.
Fiddler on the Roof is a movie I've never seen, but I've
Heard it referenced a lot.
heard it referenced a lot.
If I were a rich man,
and I
see
love
Fiddler on the Roof.
I love these careers of people who instead of like it's not Hitchcockian, right? Like it's not like I'm going to make the same movie every time or I'm going to have the same themes every time. And people shit on these careers typically, like, oh, you never figured it out. But I think this guy did. I think he did figure it out. And he made fucking Rollerball.
Yeah, you're going to put a little respect on the name of the director of Rollerball. This guy's gauntlet on the cover of Rollerball, so spiky.
Yeah.
That's got to factor in some way into the competition.
And so much of me wants to celebrate 1975 by watching more movies like Rollerball instead of the movies that we watch every year, which is like, I'm drama and so are you.
But I've heard of late, the people are chattering about how great this little movie is called Picnic at Hanging Rock.
Okay, so I watched Picnic at Hanging Rock, and the less people know about the movie Picnic at Hanging Rock, the better it will be when they watch it. But it is, I guarantee you, it will be one of the most interesting movies you've seen. It's not perfect, but it's very interesting. And I think what it also is going to provide for us in 75 is we're not getting a lot of, like, the female perspective in any of these movies. And in fact, some of these movies like have never even like talked to a real girl. They're just like, they're just honestly the female characters. They seem like what a guy guesses a woman might think about some issues, but he doesn't want to like look too deep into it. They're very misogynistic. This movie centers the experience of young women. And I think that it would be really nice.
I think that would be a culture clash. Like, it would be like,
Greg, I was so ready to vote for Rollerball, but then you said that.
Well, I mean, if you do that, you're a sexist. But like, based on what I think 75 is going to be, the fact that like we see a woman's perspective, like it's going to be a splash of cold water.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's all, but also even though it's set in 1900 Australia, it has the same exact tense feeling that our other 1975 movies are going to bring to us, which is the people just on the very edge of giving into absolute madness and kind of wanting it to come because of the release of that madness, because they are a bowstring that has been pulled back for years and years by the Vietnam War, by Nixon, by fucking hippies, by counterculture, and they just kind of would like to snap. And so every movie is about like glorifying that snap,
I mean, just the fact that Australia had like
Endgame,
cameras at that time, I think is something to celebrate.
It's bananas. I also think Greg is really arguing for a movie I know he doesn't want to argue for later in the Brown. But it sounds like Picnic at Hanging Rock is moving on.
If you want to move Rollerball to the bonus
Patreon?
list or the Patreon, I'm totally down, because it really is like a bunch of dudes skating in a circle to the death. And I am always going to be down with that.
All right, round one, battle 7 is 3 Days of Condor and A Boy and His Dog. Wait, versus A Boy and His Dog. That's not one movie.
Okay. So you go, Ryan.
This one's really hard for me because Boy and His Dog seems like the perfect like indie movie where it's Don Johnson. That's right, that Don Johnson.
Watchmen's Don Johnson?
Walking around a post-apocalyptic future, like a Mad Max future.
Shit.
And his only weapon is his dog, who is telepathic.
Oh, shit.
Okay, so I saw 3 Days of the Condor. Now, this is Sidney Pollack's other movie. This is his Oscar-nominated movie. This is the big one, right? And it follows a guy who works for the CIA, and he's not quite a CIA agent. What he is he is a prolific reader. And they have him read books from other countries to see if
Greg
there's...
likes it.
Okay.
I could be a hero, too.
But it has all the 75 stuff, which is like he's in the CIA and something goes wrong and he doesn't know who he can trust, and he's not sure who he's working for anymore. He's not sure if there's some rogue organization. He, of all things, he decides, this guy Condor, on the run, he decides he's just going to like kidnap Faye Dunaway because he sees her and he needs her car. So he also kind of kidnaps her.
King Kong.
And she's pretty.
It's got the 75 thing of just like very weird messages about women. They end up having like a brief romantic interlude, and you're never quite sure if you're supposed to feel like okay about the fact that this woman he kind of kidnapped, he just like had sex with without releasing her from being kidnapped, and like kind of still calls her kidnapped. And that's all in the middle of a really slick spy drama about technology and about us not knowing who controls the reins of power for real anymore.
What are the seeds again, Mike?
The seeds, 3 Days of the Condor is 5, and A Boy and His Dog is 28. But for me, what really seals it is this is one of the biggest influences on Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
And so that has me leaning towards
And
so much so that they had to change the casting of Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Like they put him in the movie.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, the move, like when you watch this, you feel like you were watching that movie the entire time. It's obviously the references were not like a wink and a nod; they were like built into the
Wholesale.
fiber of that movie. And it is very slick and cool. And the technology that they have in the movie, even though it's technology from '75, they shoot it in such a way where it really does look cool. You're like, oh man, look at this stuff. You like send a fax.
It's it's the 5th seed, and I know that the 1st through 4th seeds are impeachable, right? Like it can go higher, but like this is to me the most 1975 movie.
Yeah.
Robert Redford, Faye Dunaway, directed by Sidney Pollack, about like I thought I could trust everyone, but in fact I can trust no one. Like I feel like that's going to be the thing throughout the entire season. And
you find out
I don't know if this movie will win, but I think it will just be the most emblematic.
Encapsulate.
Yeah.
And you find out who you are when you encounter these things. Like, he is so protected, and this causes him to find out who he is. And honestly, it becomes pretty dark by the end of it because he's not, and this is kind of the country like thinking about itself, right? Like, they just got smacked in the face. We just got smacked in the face in everything that came with the Vietnam War, and it made us realize, like, who are we? We are the kind of country who does all the terrible things we just did, and we don't understand what is at the helm anymore. We don't understand what the guiding principles are anymore. We're lost, and that's what this movie captures: is that feeling of being lost.
And honestly, I think I think that it did give birth to the Mission Impossible series, which is just like every single movie is Tom Cruise, Ethan Hunt saying, all right, I'm here. I work for this company and I'm here. And they're like, oh no, we don't trust you and we're all against you. And he's like, what the fuck? Now I have to run every single movie. And this is it all in one sort of drama, like romance drama instead of an action movie.
All right, so it sounds like A Born His Dog is getting kicked off the rocks.
I would like to put that on the Patreon list.
Just because it's so weird, right?
Yeah,
like, I mean,
yeah.
that feels like
dogs.
the kind of movies that we don't quite get anymore, that are just so absurd and out there.
All right, I'm excited about this one. Your 8th battle, 12th seed, The Man Who Would Be King, versus your 21st seed, Death Race 2000. Ryan, what's The Man Who Would Be King?
The Man Who Would Be King is two of our most charismatic 1975 actors. It's Michael Caine and Sean Connery.
Oh, shit.
In the same movie.
Damn.
And they both...
they hooked up.
They both go to brown people, and they're like, we'll take over. And it doesn't work out well.
No.
It's a borderline comedy of two fucking morons being like, this is not going to work out. This was an early movie for me, being like, this was an early favorite for me. Like, when I was a kid, I was like, oh, this is what I would like movies to be.
It sounds like it's a colonialism farce?
Yes.
Yeah.
A colonialism farce is like the Ishtar of our generation. I think this movie is so great and so hilarious, but Mike, I'm so sorry. I watched Death Race 2000 last night.
Ryan.
Yeah? Oh, my God.
And it's all you're going to argue for now?
It is the perfect movie. I want to bring Stephanie, my wife, in here to talk about it because when we put it on, she was like, 1975? Why? You guys are stupid. That's not even a year. I don't even think that year exists. They didn't have movies. And then we put it on, and 5 minutes in, she was like, oh, this is my favorite movie of all time.
Now, full disclosure, she loves death races.
She does.
So that's
and the number 2000.
Man, I like how they were like, this should be set in the future. What's like the farthest into the future anyone can think? And someone was like, I guess 2000.
Oh, yeah. the whole time they're like, oh, he won the death race in 97, 98, 99. I was alive for that. Like, so you won the race when Smash Mouth was super popular.
I graduated from high school when that guy won the death race.
This is full on making fun of Oscar winning movies. You know, it's like the English Patient. It's like all of that stuff. But like, what if it was just like two people like us that were sent into there? Like Lawrence of Arabia is a moron, and he just gets sent in there. And it's a really amazing, really funny movie versus a movie that had a $5,000 budget and spent every goddamn dollar of that budget.
I have to say, isn't every bout of colonialism a colonialism farce, though? Like, is this a comedy, or is this almost in a way just like a straight telling of how this always goes?
And Man Who Would Be King would be harsh for us because we're in post-Trump. So we're going to look at this movie much differently, as if, like, what if two Trumps went to a different country? I would like to make another request. I would like whatever loses this to be on
One
the
of
Patreon.
these
Yeah,
is in the Patreon bracket. All right, I like that. I cannot tell which way this is going to go. Greg, what's your vote?
I am going to go, honestly, between those two. Something about The Man Who Would Be King, I'm just afraid as a topic that we're going to get bogged down talking about a bunch of like just boring and upsetting things. I'm going to say Death Race might be the more fun experience. And based on your wife's review, that sounds like it's an engaging movie. So I'm going to say Death Race 2000.
she put the baby down on the floor and she was like, "Death Race, Death Race."
And Ryan?
It's The Man Who Would Be King. I'm
disgusted how little we've done for the work of pulpy 75 movies so far. So I vote for Death Race 2000 to move on.
Second lead in this movie, which I thought was like based on the cover art of the DVD. It was like, he had a 30-second cameo, but no, that's not true. The second lead of this movie is one Sylvester Stallone.
Oh,
and
hell
he
yeah.
is amazing in this
Why
movie.
didn't you lead with that? Were you afraid it would like
didn't want us
sway
to
us?
vote for it, but we did because we're dumb, bitch.
He gets really pissed at his navigator, who is a woman who he's been beating the entire movie. He gets really pissed at her and says, "You motherfucking baked potato," and screams it at the top of his lungs.
Cannot wait to start screaming that at both of you. We have to take a quick break, and when we come back, your ninth battle. Hola, Filterinos. I just wanted to interrupt real briefly and say thank you for listening. Thank you for your support. If you want to support us a little more directly, you can go to patreon.com/yourpopfilter. There, depending on what tier you pick, $1 a month, $5 a month. If you're crazy, anything more than $5 a month, don't do that. You can get extra content. There's extra shows, extra series, behind-the-scenes stuff. You could pay for Ryan to draw you a picture. I can write you a poem. You can get the shirts off our very own backs. All of that and so much more over at patreon.com/yourpopfilter. While you're on the internet, you should check out Shady Monk. He does all the tunes you've been listening to. He's on Bandcamp. He's on Spotify, SoundCloud, wherever kids get their music these days that I'm too old to know. Shady Monk lives there. You can probably follow him on Twitter and Instagram as well. That's Shady Monk. Wherever you get music, check him out. Here is another very quick battle. I'm calling it right now. Your number 2 seed is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Your 31st seed is Hard Times.
Was
Okay.
it like a boxing movie or like a
Charles
bare
Bronson
knuckle?
prison movie, right?
And they gotta like fight. This is a weird time where Charles Bronson was like an action hero, despite the fact that he looked like one of your dad's weird friends.
Yeah. At some point, Charles Bronson was a handsome guy. Like, I'll go see that movie because he's a handsome guy. But this is also the time of Donald Sutherland and Elliot Gould. So
Sex pots.
Yeah, I feel like Charles Bronson is in like a million different movies where his whole family gets eliminated, and then he has to just go shoot everybody with a revolver until he feels better.
and
Well,
he
the
might
Death
be the
Wish
last.
series is
Yeah.
about him getting remarried at the beginning of every movie, and then it happens again.
He
That's
might be
not
the,
true, Greg. Don't make that face.
Okay. I just imagine like if the Punisher just kept getting remarried, having a new family, and then losing them again.
At some point in like the 90s, everybody was like, "I'll be in one movie every 2 years." But before that, I think Charles Bronson might be the last actor who was like 4 movies per year. Four.
Just
Or I'm
send
going to
me
get
the
kicked out of
scripts
Hollywood.
and tell me when to show up. Yes, I will be in your movie. Just pay me money.
He's just calling people and pitching that.
And honestly, good for him because he's a terrible actor. So
Yeah.
and he's not
He squints real good.
he's not impressive looking. So if people really want to like pay him to be in movies, I think he was good to get like as many of those as possible.
If you guys really wanted a Charles Bronson movie for the bracket, I guess this would be it. But it's going up against. I'm sorry, Mike. What? One flew over the cuckoo's nest.
Your second seed, yeah.
That's
One of the most-
that's a rough
Okay.
get.
Yeah.
So that moves on. Your next battle is Greg's choice, the Yakuza, versus Greg's anti-choice, Sallow,
Oh, wow.
which is the movie I referenced earlier. Greg made a really good point of what 75 is and captures, and I think he argued for Sallow hard when he was trying to argue for Picnic at Hanging Rock.
Yakuza. The reason I chose it was for all the reasons I think I said and maybe the other show, but it was another Sidney Pollack movie. For 3 Days of the Condor. And I wanted to see like what a more middle of the pack movie would be like. It has all the same themes, I think, which is, like who do you trust and who do you work for, and where does power really lie? And because it's Paul Schrader who wrote the script, there's a lot of self-sacrifice and actual self-destruction, and it's a very good movie. But it's forgettable in a way that Sallow. It's 100 Days of Sodom.
You'll never forget.
Yeah,
Sallow.
it's not. Almost everybody knows about it and has an opinion about if they know anything about movies. So it's probably going to get steamrolled here.
But you really don't want to watch torture porn.
Yeah, well, I personally am not going to watch it because, and it's not even really a principled stand. It's just I don't want to have the experience. So I do not like that how much torture there is in most popular culture. Like almost every show that I watch or comic book that I read has some scene of torture in it, and this seems like a movie kind of based around that. And if you guys watch it, I will be interesting to hear if you think there is a redeeming social worth to this movie, which I am not saying that there definitely isn't, but that my thought is that it will be an awful experience with no redemption at the end.
But you're not saying that there definitely is. Mike, let me ask you this question. When Greg says he's not watching Sallow, and we say that we're going to, does that make you more mad at Greg or me and you?
Oh, that's interesting. I think if I could take a step back from being me or you, it should probably be me or you, because I'm me or you. It's Greg.
But all I'm saying
there's
is
a sentence.
All I'm saying though is that I will not personally watch the movie. Like it's a very personal choice. I did not take any sort of oath to watch like any movie that came out because I said I would be on a podcast about them. It's just it is very literally like I cannot foresee myself enjoying the experience at all, and I think it will actually hurt me and harm me in the long run. And so then it's just a personal choice to be like, no, thank you, I don't want to do that.
And like it will actually hurt me and you, Mike, to watch this movie.
Well, I don't like me or you, so my vote is for Sallow.
So is mine.
Oh, shit.
And I guess I probably would too. At least for this one, I would vote. I don't think it makes sense to.
That seems cruel.
To move it past.
That means you want to hurt your friends.
No, I should also underline. I believe you two have the right not to watch this or any other movie as well.
Nope.
People should make that
choice.
choice.
The contract you said you didn't sign. You had a better lawyer than I did.
If you don't want to watch it, I don't want you to. But I'm also, by the same token, I'm not telling you you may not watch it. You have the free choice. Please make good use of it.
Your 11th battle is your number 7th seed, a movie I've seen more than literally any other movie in my life, Monty Python and the Holy Grail versus something called Cholet in your 26th seed.
Okay, so can I go on Cholet before
please talk
do.
about Cholet.
India makes hundreds of thousands of movies per year, and Cholet is sort of commonly known as the best one. There is no Indian movie in the history of time that has this much drama, comedy, action, romance. It has it all. Like, this was the time where Bollywood was like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's do it all in this one particular movie.
Hell yeah.
And it's 3 hours, which is long. But compared to most Bollywood movies, it's actually kind of short.
and compared to some other movies in this bracket,
yeah,
it's pretty short.
Cholet is this huge movie that like kickstarted this thing of like, what if we balanced the way that Indian movies are made with the way that Hollywood movies are made, and it's supposed to be the funniest, best movie of all time.
And Holy Grail?
And the Holy Grail is, I don't know, something that I think that the three of us have to grapple with, right? Like, I have known you guys for my entire life, and we don't have a lot of Monty Python conversations.
That's true. Terry Gilliam is very big director of Brazil, and he directed this as well. But did he direct the live action parts, or did he just direct the interstitial cartoon parts?
Like weird cartoons?
I thought the whole thing.
We don't know. Yeah, so I think he did direct the whole thing. I think, but this Monty Python, obviously, we're not the biggest Monty Python fans. This is, I think, their best movie. I'll go out on a limb and say it. but it's definitely a sketch comedy movie, and there are definitely some sketches, not skits, sketches that are big swings and big misses.
They're not going to bat 1,000.
Yeah, that kind of seems to be the Monty Python experience, right? Like some of the jokes in there are for nobody.
Not even for them who wrote it.
They're like ballast.
They're just for Christopher Guest.
Or counterbalance to the really funny stuff. But the bits that hit, and hopefully it will not become just us going like, hey, the Knights that say neat, right? Tim, right?
Well, we're going to be like, but what do the Knights that say knee represent?
'Tis only a scratch, right?
This is another thing where I would like to watch, or I would like to be a fan of Rick and Morty or Harley Quinn, but the other fans sort of like make me keep keep me quiet to myself.
Yes, I even though I have a Harley Quinn tattoo and Rick and Morty shoes, I also try to keep my fandom quiet because there's monsters who scream about Szechuan sauce.
I have to say, for me, I think the Rick and Morty folks were the first time I ever was like, I'm not going to say that I like something.
Yeah.
Because of how, like, I've never had that. Because honestly, Monty Python folks are extreme and silly and weird and everything. But this is the first group where I was like, no, this is like the Proud Boys or something. Like,
yeah.
I don't want to be associated with these people.
Mike, if what I said about Cholet turns you on, if you want to put that on the bracket, I'm sort of down. It is 3 hours, but it's supposed to be spectacular. But the thumb on pop culture that this particular movie has, I don't know what else to do.
Yeah, I think it is impossible to ignore, but we'll see how the votes go. Greg?
Yeah, it's holy grail. I wouldn't mind seeing this Bollywood movie just to get a feel for it, and because Bollywood has been like now. So how much
talk about a blind spot, right?
How much, and also how much of the influence of Bollywood has come back onto Hollywood? Like now suddenly we're just putting dance numbers in the middle of any movie because we like that they did it. That would be neat to see.
Can't you see like an entire Indian audience watching Fast 9 and being like, all right.
They must be like, these are silly fucking people, dude. Like, do they think this is what life is really like? Do they really think this happens? And honestly, when you live in America, baby, it do. Every day. Every day.
Goddamn day.
And Ryan.
I don't want to. I'm going to go with my producer hat and say Monty Python, but I want to watch the Cholet movie.
Yeah, Cholet sounds fun, but Monty Python moves on.
Hey,
your next battle is your 10th seed, Tommy, and your 23rd seed, Shivers. Hey, I get to do this time. I watched Shivers last week, and I want to say Tommy should move on. Because I think it should at least be fun to watch a movie about a small apartment building on a small island getting infested with sex zombies. But you know what? It's disturbing, and I don't know if it is worth talking about.
Mike, you're in moody time now. You're in movie of the year time where all movies should be painful and make you think about all of your terrible things that you've done in your life. Isn't Shivers that?
I guess it is that. We do get to talk about sexual assault. It's Cronenberg, so he's
don't
a guy.
worry about 75, baby. If you want to talk about sexual assault, we got movies on movies.
I can make you talk about sexual assault.
Yeah, we got that. We got that covered.
Tommy has a adult woman pouring baked beans all over herself. I think I would love to do Tommy. I've never seen it before. It sounds awesome.
It feels like it's not going to make it past whatever the next thing is.
Yeah, sure. So why don't we just get Shivers the fuck out of here and do Tommy?
If Shivers sounds interesting to you, just watch James Gunn's homage Slither, and it's funny and much better and doesn't creep you out. Your 13th seed is... Nope, your 13th battle is your number 3 seed, The Rocky Horror Picture Show,
Woo!
Versus your 30th seed, a not typoed movie, The Iger Sanction, not The Tiger Sanction.
Okay, so in The Iger Sanction, Clint Eastwood is an assassin who says, no matter what happens, I will kill my target. And then... his target is a mountain climber.
Uh-oh.
And then he's like, then I will learn mountain climbing. And he learns mountain climbing better than that mountain climber ever could and then kills that guy.
Dang. I never realized I saw a rip-off version of this movie when I was a kid called Cliffhanger.
Cliffhanger? Yeah. Well, Cliffhanger is a fucking all-timer.
Boom. Cliffhanger.
All right, but nobody dresses up like Clint Eastwood's assassin every Saturday night to throw rice at the guy he's trying to kill on the mountainside. So if we're talking about pop culture thumbprints.
Can we talk right now about the amount of rocky you guys are?
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
we can rock it.
I think we're all very different levels of it. So I'll go first. I this movie has been a presence in my life. I've always been aware of. I had never seen it all the way through until this year.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
And I'm like a person that just got religion. I'm like running up to people on streets. I'm like, have you heard the message of Rocky Horror Picture? And they're like, yes, everybody has. And I'm like, it's amazing. You should see it. Oh, you said you did see it. Okay, goodbye. I'm so into it, and I enjoyed it so much. It doesn't bat 1,000. It doesn't make any sense, but it's just so
it's like
fun.
on that. It's on that Monty Python
It
level.
really is. It's another sketch comedy movie.
My relationship is my older sister, when she was like 9 and I was 6, when I found the one movie Mom tried to hide, Let's Watch It While She's Gone, and was freaked out as a 6-year-old. But then went to see it starting at 16, and then went a lot to the live experiences and helped initiate other people. And it is a weird experience. I think it is 2/3 of a really cool, interesting, fun movie, and then there's the end of it. So I'm excited to dig in and talk about it and figure out why.
For some reason, and I was born and raised a musical kid. Born and raised by myself, by the way. My parents had nothing to do with that. I was a Little Shop person, and I thought that the Rocky Horror and Little Shop people were in contention.
No, that's Priscilla, Queen of the Desert in Rocky Horror. I learned that from Drew Carey's show.
But it's really hard to not want to do a show with you two about Rocky, right?
Yeah.
That would be a fucking sweet show. The problem is that the Iger sanction also has people going to theaters, dressing up as mountain climbers, and doing all this stuff. Rocky Horror, I mean, it's almost guaranteed not to win. And I don't want to vote something on that's guaranteed not to win the whole thing. But
I don't know if it captures the 75-ness of gender fluidity and sexual norms.
I mean,
these
are all good points. And we can't not do a Rocky Horror show.
Yeah.
I'm
coming in costume.
Yeah, I think I am too. I'm really excited for Mike is hosting the 75 season, which includes a Rocky Horror show. I don't know what I'm going to do.
And it's a bridge between a lot of these different themes in these different movies too. So I think it's going to fit into the season very well. It's not one of these where I'm worried that we're just going to be too reverential of it, or that we're just going to do the Chris Farley, do you remember when this happened? I think we're going to really have a chance to get into it, and we can maybe figure out why it just absolutely hits a wall in the third act.
Yeah.
Greg, you don't have to fucking deal with the emails from all the Iger Sanction fans writing in saying, how did you... Yeah.
A lot of them DM me on Twitter, Ryan. And, honestly, they're kind of reasonable if you just hear them out.
Rocky Horror moves on. Your 14th seed is my pick, Dolomite, versus your 19th seed, something called Mirror.
A foreign film?
Right. Is Mirror a foreign film? One of these foreign films?
Yeah, we can move on, Mike. I've watched Dolomite, and Mirror is Tarkovsky. And if we have the opportunity to do a Tarkovsky show, we're going to take that opportunity. Dolomite is awesome. And Mike, I would love for you to move that to the Patreon or to the bonus episodes, because we should do an episode on Dolomite. It is so itself, it's so Dolomite. But Mirror, once again, was directed by Andrei Tarkovsky. And this is, one of the greatest directors of all time. Mike, you and I have done
Stalker.
We've done Stalker on a podcast. We've done we did one other one, I think, on a podcast. He's the guy who directed the original Solaris. It's going to be tough. It's going to be painful. It's going to be us watching a video essay and trying to make sense of it. But we absolutely have to do it.
Greg, what's your vote?
Mirror. I've been reflecting on my choice, and it's Mirror.
Oh, Greg. Mirror moves on. Dolomite is on the Patriot bracket. Let's take a break, and then we'll come back and do the last two battles of round 1. Only 2 battles left of round 1, and then so many more battles.
And then a bunch of battles.
Your 6th seed, Barry Lyndon, versus your 27th seed, Night Moves.
Okay, so I think that if you've already won Movie of the Year, then you automatically get moved into at least the Sweet 16.
At least the Sweet 16.
When I first heard of this movie, I thought Barry Lyndon. I thought, oh, this must be lesser Kubrick.
I'm sorry, Greg. Did you mean Barry Lyndon?
Barry Lyndon. It's weird because half the people are English and half the people are Irish, so I don't know what silly voice to do. But I thought, this must be lesser Kubrick. But first of all, it doesn't feel like lesser at all when you're watching it, and also it's very well reviewed. It was nominated for Best Picture. Is this movie kind of like out of the zeitgeist though?
I think that when you're talking about a director like Kubrick,
which I usually am,
God damn it,
I'm a cinemaphile.
I want to talk to Greg about like the NBA, let's say, or like working out, and he's like, Kubrick didn't make a movie about either of those, so why don't you shut up?
Shit, but imagine if he did. It might go a little something like this.
2 hours later, holy shit!
That was the best movie I have ever seen.
We recorded that, right?
Yes.
There's movies like Barry Lyndon, and there's movies like Munich. If I could bring up different pop filter Hall of Famer Steven Spielberg, where like you've made so many movies in the top 100 that your 95 percentile like your movies that like got an A and not an A plus aren't talked about. You're
pushing yourself out of the canon.
Yeah.
I really think that is what's happening. That's a perfect example of it. But what I have watched this movie. It's beautiful. It's very well shot. It's witty. It's funny. It's
got Ryan O'Neal.
It's got Ryan O'Neal for days.
Shit.
It's based on a book by William Makepeace Thackeray, which
not the facts.
Which, as Mike pointed out, it's got to be in the Hall of Fame of names. He also wrote Vanity Fair. Makepeace.
William, right there. Like, all right, shut the fuck up. You're an idiot. Makepeace. Okay, hold on.
The 60s,
and then Thackeray.
Thackeray, dude. Yeah.
Thackeray.
And, kind of an early novelist, a lot of wit, already experimenting a lot with the form, even though we like to pretend like that's something that like just happened yesterday, people were fucking with the form of the novel. And
John Grisham is the first one who started fucking with novel form.
But it has to be said, everybody, this movie is easily 3 movies long. This is, it's almost 4 hours.
I have not seen it since I was a kid, but I am so excited to try and figure out, is Kubrick trying to do this genre? Is he making fun of the genre? Is he saying like, well, you fucked me over on Spartacus, so fuck you? Or is he trying to be like, I enjoyed my time on Spartacus, so I'm going to try to recreate that? I don't know.
I mean, that's very bold of you to assume we'll be talking about that, Ryan, when it's going up against Gene Hackman as a former football player and private detective looking for a girl and looking for himself.
Mike, you and I were talking about this movie the other day and how we don't get these movies anymore because these are TV shows. But it's Gene Hackman, private investigator. There's a case. He's got to solve a case. In like 2 hours he solves the case. Doesn't that sound like a fucking awesome movie?
It sounds like I'd want to see Shane Black. He did The Nice Guys, right? That was one of his later.
He did The Nice Guys.
Oh man,
I know he did a lot of other stuff.
Nice Guys stock is very high. Everybody, I've been sounding the market.
I watched it recently. It's where it should be. If not, it's too low.
Okay, I got to get on this because people are really into it. Let me ask you this: is the guy's name Knight? Is the detective's name Knight?
Jefferson Knight.
Is that the Knight?
He's gonna do the Knight move
because he's an ex-football player doing his moves. There, a lot of thrillers made it pretty high up here. This is one of them.
It says that his name is Harry P. Detective.
Carrie P. Football. That was his job. All right, Carrie, we're going to give you the ball. Just don't drop it. All right, coach. Also, could you solve this crime?
Job's done.
I want to do a show on night moves. I've never seen it. I've heard it's awesome.
We'll put it in the backup.
Put it in the
trash pile that we call Patreon.
But no, this is the year of directors, and we're not moving past Kubrick.
Yeah, we got to do the Coobs.
I do think if you, like you said, if one of your films has been the best movie of a year, you're probably just a lock in, and especially if your name's goddamn Stanley Kubrick.
Holy shit!
Ryan
this movie
has a physical copy of it that I'm holding right now, so
I
think
that's hard to turn down. He spent good money.
I didn't know this movie was directed by Arthur Penn. He directed Bonnie and Clyde.
Oh damn!
Which has not won movie of the year. So
and Little Big Man.
Oh man!
And The Miracle Worker.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the year director.
This is we should not scoff off Arthur Penn just because Kubrick came to town.
Your final battle of round one is your 11th seed, The Return of the Pink Panther, and your 22nd seed, The Passenger, which The Passenger, have not seen it, could not think of a movie more designed for my kind of shit, where Jack Nicholson is a bored reporter and his story is not going well, so he sees a dead guy who looks like him and goes, I'm going to take that guy's life, and then finds out that dead guy was an arms dealer who's in hot water with some bad folks.
Man, if you find a dead guy, That might be a good, maybe that's a good indication that you shouldn't try to take his life, right? Because
No.
he didn't survive it. So
I had a real thing where one day I Googled myself, as you do a few years back, and saw that Michael Joseph Gravano, my exact name, please don't steal my identity, died 4 years earlier. And and it was like a dude in his 40s and really looked like if I was in my 40s, and stared at it for a while, wondering if it was some sort of looper situation and what I was supposed to do about that.
I've got some questions. Let me ask you guys this. What is your Pink Panther history? Like, does anybody give a shit?
I've seen bits and pieces of both the cartoon, which I know isn't it, and the original one.
Well, the cartoon is there for like the first 5 seconds of every movie.
Right.
And is it this? My only connection is the insulation. My house had the Pink Panther insulation, and so I guess it kept me warm, and I like that.
The song rips.
And then what is your guys' Peter Sellers connection? Like, are you guys down with that guy? I know there's a lot of terrible stories.
Just from what?
Lolita?
Chauncey.
Or Dr. Strangelove?
Dr. Strangelove, yeah. My only connection to him is loving Dr. Strangelove.
Those are both Kubrick movies.
Dr. Strangelove. And then what? Chauncey the Gardener, what movie was that?
That's before, after. Born Again.
After.
I have to say,
Again.
that would be just a great name for the movie itself. Chauncey the Butler. Chauncey the Gardener.
But yeah, he's a fascinating character. I'm always like, I should probably know more about this guy.
But you say he's a big dick. Is that why you ask?
Oh, he's definitely a big dick. And he's been like, sort of like Monty Python. Like, I'm trying to learn why they are so important and funny. I don't know if I'm there yet.
He made a really weird choice in that movie, Lolita. Like the way he played that character in Lolita, just like so roles. Over the top, crazy, clownish, funny.
That's an impression, bro. Do you know who that is an impression of?
Stanley Kubrick.
It's Stanley Kubrick.
Oh, man.
You're burnt, Stanley.
That's so weird. But in what is a very somber
Peter
story...
Sellers did Kubrick in that movie. Like Dr. Evil is based on Lorne Michaels. Like, it's the exact same thing. He's just like, oh, you want me to be in your movie? Fine. Then I'll do this then.
Fuck you for asking me to be in your movie. Does anybody want to vote for the Return of the Pink Panther?
I don't think so.
No, I choose not to.
We have a very strict anti-sequel status on the show. So we have your Sweet 16 round 2 battle.
Being there, Mike. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm sorry.
Thank you. It's being there. Now it starts to hurt, guys, because we're starting to figure out what's actually going to move on, and we're going to have to watch. I don't like this. I straight don't like it right away. Your number 1 seed is Jaws versus your number 17 seed, Nashville.
Oh no! This is when I'm like, are brackets a bad idea?
Yeah. Why can't we just watch what we want to watch?
I'm glad I didn't buy it. I almost bought this movie for $14 American dollars. Yeah, inflation, Mike, it's real. Thanks to Biden, the Democrats give money to everybody.
It's a gallon of milk.
I do think that if the three of us decide to do it, a bonus show, that it can't be involved in like the actual like best picture of the year, right?
Yeah, if it's in the bonus, if it's a bonus episode, it's not in the running. It can win
so
awards.
So it's eligible for Moody's.
Yeah, so like Lily Tomlin could win.
But how are we gonna like do awards when there's 26?
There's so many
characters.
He kind of blew it with
the
that.
Loudies.
I don't like. I want to do a show with you guys, like about Nashville with you guys so bad because I don't know if you guys would like it or not. I don't know if I like it. It's so fucking weird. It's 26 characters. That's insane.
So you're voting for Nashville, not Jaws, it sounds like, Ryan?
No, it obviously has to be Jaws.
Yeah, how many of those characters are sharks?
Sharks, none of them.
0.
Well, Lily
how many
Tomlin,
of them are
she's a bit of a shark. Yeah.
I don't know if that's a burn or I don't know.
But yeah, it's just
what Lily Tomlin is.
The way we do this, it can't stack up against Jaws. I mean, Jaws feels like
movie.
Yeah, it feels like you can like. If there's any movie responsible for the fact that we have a podcast at all, it's probably Jaws as the grand
We should
happy.
just change our name to Jaws the podcast.
Yeah.
I don't understand how Nashville had such a low seating.
Yeah. Is that, Mike, are you cheating?
No.
Mike.
You know me. Love the city of Nashville. Love Robert Altman.
Is it because Nashville has so many bachelor and bachelorette parties now that the movie stock has gone way down? Yeah.
Your next battle of round 2 is your 25th seed, the Stepford Wives, versus your 9th seed, Shampoo.
See, this is where I feel like we kick Stepford Wives because like
Yeah.
we don't want to watch this movie, right? And I think we
Fuck
would enjoy
Wives.
watching Shampoo.
So we used Stepford Wives to get rid of Woody Allen, I think.
Yeah.
And now we just use now it's out. It's probably
It's out.
boring
Did a
and
good
Shampoo rules. Wait,
Ooh.
so Mike, I'm so sorry. You already explained this, but once you win this battle, you're in.
Yeah.
You're
for
in.
sure.
So Shampoo
Your
becomes
info
our
show.
second movie.
Shampoo is in.
We're definitely
I'm
doing
so
a show
excited
about Shampoo.
that.
All right.
Interesting. I can't wait to hear more about that story about how this guy grows up to be.
Oh yeah. Oh, such a piece of shit person.
Your next battle is let's go back to these seeds. Your 4th seed, Dog Day Afternoon, versus your 20th seed, not his pick, but his favorite movie of the week, Picnic at Hanging Rock.
Oh no! That's me falling off Hanging Rock.
Yeah, Greg went right off that Hanging Rock.
Oh,
This
because
isn't a picnic.
this is what happens. I can't, in good conscience, I think, say that we should watch Picnic at Hanging Rock instead of Dog Day Afternoon. I think I might have enjoyed Picnic at Hanging Rock more. But Dog Day Afternoon, I felt like I was mainlining 75. I was like,
yeah, for
75
sure.
is getting pumped into my eye holes right now, and I'm understanding it. So,
You can feel the whatever the color of 75 is. You can feel it going into your veins
Yeah.
when you watch Dog Day.
this isn't even particularly close to me. I mean, I kind of think Dog Day Afternoon is gonna win, like the whole thing.
Oh,
Yeah,
he's
so
calling it now, folks. Remember that.
There's not a shark in the movie.
there's
Greg,
not
so
a shark. No.
why don't you settle down
There's
a
no
little
jets either.
bit? But Mike,
No, wait, there's a jet. Sorry.
Picnic is that's a show. Picnic
God,
is a
that's-
show.
a show.
I guarantee, like, honestly, I know we have a bracket for this, but on top of that, I think there definitely is a show, and that one should go in there definitely is a show. Because I swear it gave birth to so many things we love. So many movies and directors that we love find their genesis, at least in part, in this movie. You can just feel it down to its bones.
Also, the Unnatural 20s usually do a show per season. Is this the movie that you
Dude,
want them
yes,
to do?
and let's not tell them anything about it.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing about it that's deeply upsetting. Like, it would be horrible to
No
have
dogs.
Yeah, or anything like that. But like, it is a trip if you're not necessarily expecting it to go where it goes.
I would
And
love
this
to
is an
listen to that.
era where I don't think they'd choose to watch any of these movies.
No. And honestly, if you look at the cover of Picnic at Hanging Rock, you're like, oh man, this is going to be a weird, like, gentle comedy of manners. It looks like it's probably boring. And there's not a moment in this movie that is boring, even in the slightest.
I mean, the Unnatural 20s are like Jaws. Wait, did they make a movie about that part of the
That
Universal
ride at
Studios
Universal
tram ride? So I think we're good here.
Isn't that kind of cheesy?
All right, your Dog Day Afternoon moves on.
Hell
but it sounds
yeah,
like
yeah.
we're definitely doing Picnic at Hanging Rock at some point. Your next battle is your 5th seed, 3 Days of the Condor, the Winter Soldier, versus 21st seed, Death Race 2000.
Oh, man. Okay.
It sounds like we should have just done a 16 episode movie.
I know. That's what I want to do.
We have it within our power to do
Go
that.
through the summer.
I can't tell you guys how awesome it would be to do a show where I just sat here while we did Death Race 2000, listening to Mike scream that it was the best movie of all time while Greg screamed it was the worst movie of all time. Like, it would be so much fun.
What if we did like little mini hits, like little mini episodes where we just kind of had like 2 or 3 questions that we talked about and maybe not the other bits, and we could bang out a bunch of these movies. We could do that.
I think that's what I want to do. Like, that's the only way to truly understand 75, right? Because of the thing that Mike said, like, we're picking the award winners.
Yeah. Yeah, we
It's
want
hard
the
not
thing.
to.
We want the movies that people don't remember on top of the movies
Right.
that people do remember, because that's going to really give us that feel.
Guys, Death Race 2000 was such a blast. It was every second of it was either I'm laughing because they want me to, or I'm laughing because they don't. And it was amazing.
we have to talk about how 3 Days of the Condor, and we
But,
will
like,
on the
we
episode,
cannot kick out 3 Days of the Condor.
is
Yeah,
everything
no,
that
that's already moved on.
how it gave birth to everything we love, and also contains some of the things that we vehemently hate and make us feel deeply uncomfortable at the same time.
Do you guys love your wives? It was given birth to by 3 Days of the Condor. That is how
Days
we
of
handle
Condor's
things.
labor. I think it's obvious 3 Days of the Condor has to move on.
Yeah.
It's
I
kind
would
of a
love
boring
listeners-
movie, though.
I
It is-
think
It is
the
kind of-
the first episode of any season is so hard, right? It hurts us emotionally.
Yeah.
But so
Yeah.
much time goes by that I think we forget that. Listeners, please write in or hit us up on social media to tell us how many times we have these highfalutin plans of like, here's how we'll watch 1,000 movies this season. Let us know if that happens a lot.
We get excited. We are not a podcast that is afraid to be enthusiastic.
But Greg already started doing it, which made me do it, which means we're already doing it.
Yeah.
Like, this is the first year we're like, no, we're fucking doing it.
Yeah, this year does feel different. Like this was the first year where before it even started, I felt like compelled to go out and start watching the movies that might be in the bracket or ones that might not be. Like it just happened on its own. It's a really organic thing.
I've listened to mostly 1975 music this week. I mean, Core's ending. We got to somehow find a way to not see people, and it's to do all our homework about 1975.
Excuses.
All right, we have to take a break, and when we come back, the battles continue. I'm going to call this battle the Greg Gimme. It is your second seed, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, versus your 18th seed, Sallow. Here you go, Greg. You don't have to watch Sallow.
I think it's fucked up to lay this at my door as if I'm the one. This developed very organically. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Like we would be.
Oh no. I'm saying just like you're lucky.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we would be.
Nobody
set to...
hooked it up. So
Yeah.
I mean, I think that there's a lot of people who would be surprised that One Flew was second seed.
right.
There's a lot of people who would look at this year and say that should be number 1 seed. Josh should be number 2.
And I think we're going to have an interesting conversation about One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, a series of interesting conversations, because I think it, as much as it points a finger at like institutions as being fucked up and everything, some of its messages I don't think have aged particularly well. And I'm interested to decide the character of Nurse Ratched, I find has reproduced in a lot of 75 movies, including The Picnic at Hanging Rock. And I just wonder how that's aged. I don't like have an opinion before we see the movie, but I just wonder.
And
Well,
she
you
has her own
guys-
show now.
I was going to say, well, you guys, like me, watch Ryan Murphy's Ratchet to prepare
Absolutely
for
not.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Absolutely not. But I do think that Patrick McMurphy's punk rockism is a little bit timeless, and we have to sort of like place that and say like, I think he's doing a pretty good job, or man, what a fucking idiot! Like he's being a
Sure
real
thought he was
idiot
punk
right now.
rock.
Yeah.
All right, One Flew moves on.
But you guys, if you want to hook up and just
We're gonna
like-
watch Sallow.
Yeah,
I
watch
think
Sallow.
We're gonna watch Sallow.
Call that episode Sallow Hal.
Never talk about it. Just, you can tell because we're both a little different from there.
Just ashen and quiet.
By the way, Patreon, you will not hear that Sallow show. We have found a way to only make it go directly into Greg's feed, and he is the only one who will ever hear that show.
Oh, God, why? Your next battle is the British group of weirdos versus a British group of weirdos, with your 7th seed, Monty Python the Holy Grail, taking on your 10th seed, The Who's Tommy.
Oh man, what a dunk! This round has actually been kind of easy.
Yeah.
Tommy barely squeaked by last time. I have honestly never found a way to give a shit about this, and this is so convenient. Just scored it right off the show.
I'd rather have Tommy. I'd rather have like a good movie that like is an actual musical made by like people who are capable of making movies. But we'll see what you guys say.
Ow!
Monty Python is my vote.
Damn, yeah, Monty Python my vote too.
Tommy, having seen it, is whatever. I was much more interested in 1975's Listomania, which is, I think, the inspiration for the Phoenix song, but it is Tommy, but about like a old French composer who started Beatlemania before anything else. 'Cause all the women just wanted this ugly dude.
Have you seen the movie Listomania?
I haven't.
Oh,
I want to, is what I was saying.
I saw. I get it. I saw. I see.
I saw. Your next battle is your 3rd seed, The Rocky Horror Picture Show versus 19th seed, Mirror. And this is the 75-ness of it, and pop culture thumbprint of it is where I'm leaning.
All right, so let me go real quick. We cannot pass up a chance to do a Tarkovsky show. We cannot. And I understand that Rocky Horror is a big deal to a lot of people, and it's very 1975. But Andrei Tarkovsky is right there. Guys, please.
I got to go to the spirit of the charter of the show. And it's movie of the year. How does it talk about this year? And Rocky does. And
Does Mirror?
also ripples throughout pop culture.
I think beer does too.
Greg, it's on
I'm
you.
so torn. I'm just sitting here with my eyes the size of dinner plates because I really do love Rocky, but also Ryan says we have to do this, and that's very much making the part of me that's just a follower want to just do what Ryan is saying, and so I'm very torn now.
Which friend do you want to bully you, Greg? You're gonna pick right now.
I have to say when I ultimately what my final metric is when you can't get categories to combine, because I'm not sure how to compare these two movies. They're very difficult. So what is the charter of the show? As you said, Mike, it's the most 75. But for me, also, it's having a bunch of good episodes. And I think there's a chance that the Rocky Horror episode just won't be as good as this Tarkovsky.
This is insanity.
It's the number 3 seed, though, versus the number 11. Ryan, you're saying this is definitely what we should do.
This is
number 3 versus number 19.
This is like
number 19
on a Kubrickian level. This is the best filmmaker that we have ever faced. Like, this is him. This is it.
Because, like, Rocky Horror Picture Show is absolutely a stage musical shot and then not even really watched just on its own anymore. Like, it's shown in theaters with a live co-performance versus something that sounds like made by one of the masters of the craft. And I just feel like it is at the end of the day, it is a movie podcast, and we're trying to have deep, interesting conversations about movies that are worth having these penetrating conversations about, right?
And I don't know, maybe there's new stuff to say about Rocky, but like I know there's always new stuff to say about Muir.
Can I tell this one story that one time we saw, I'm not going to say who it is, but we saw a friend's little sister in line for Rocky Horror Picture, and she was dressed very scandalously and had written whore on her chest.
That was fucking nuts.
That might have been years before we met, and I was with that friend's little sister at that show. She got me in trouble with my girlfriend at the time because we showed up and she jumped up and hugged me with her legs wrapped around me, and then I had to introduce her to my girlfriend as she was wrapped around me.
How about this shit? I will, let's make Rocky the Patreon.
Yeah, I was going to declare that no matter what. But keep going.
If we could just do a Muir episode, if we could just do a Tarkovsky episode, oh god, it would.
Okay, this is us going with you because we're probably gonna get emails up the absolute wazoo about this. So this is you taking us along because you've convinced me, Ryan, and so we're gonna use the power of democracy to defeat Mike here.
Do you guys remember Come and See? Do you guys remember Come and See? Do you guys remember?
I
like,
do
what
remember
the fucking
Come and
did
See.
to us?
Yeah.
All right, so listeners, send us those angry emails, but also go over to patreon.com/earpupfilter, and if you want to hear that Rocky Horror Picture Show,
let's monetize that anger, y'all.
Well, let me ask you this: what would you rather do? Would you rather put Monty Python and the Holy Grail in Patreon or Rocky? Like, what does more for this season?
We can't do that.
Why?
That's not how brackets work. Mira moves on. Your final battle is Barry Lyndon versus, which is 6th seed versus 22nd seed, The Passenger.
Yeah, it's easy for me, man. This Barry Lyndon movie is very good. It's Kubrick. We basically said already he has a free pass, and it's one of the Kubricks that like almost nobody talks about, and we're gonna get a chance to do it. We might have the definitive voice on this movie by the time we're done.
So The Passenger is directed by Antonioni, who has a name that does not end, which I do appreciate.
Well, he said it down a well, so it just went on forever.
And yet it continues to fall. But yeah, like again, we can't pass up a Kubrick.
All right, your Elite 8 are locked in. Our keys are turned.
Yeah.
Here are the movies that we will be doing for the official season. It sounds like we're going to be watching a lot of other movies.
Yeah,
and maybe
10
everybody will
other
getting
movies.
bonus content. But the only movies eligible for 1975's Movie of the Year are Jaws, Shampoo, Dog Day Afternoon, 3 Days of the Condor, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Monty Python and the Holy Grail, Mirror, and Barry Lyndon. One of these does not fit, but it's going to be a hell of a season.
There's always one weird movie, though. There in our bracket,
Yeah,
there's
like, this
always
is our
one
come and
weird
see,
movie,
right?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
honestly, sometimes
Monty Python is our come and see.
you know what it was in 2020. It was Soul, and remember what a big swing and miss that was. So sometimes
Yeah.
it's a huge
We
mistake.
tried there.
But I think honestly, what if Amir fucking wins this thing?
That'd be awesome. But like, I want to give a shout out to the MILF podcast for us trying to do Soul last year and then coming on and being like, hell no. No, you guys did
They shit
wrong
on us
on
deeply.
that.
Yeah, they did not stop talking about the fact that Sound of Metal hadn't made it for 1 second of that episode. They worked it into every single point they had, and I respect it.
Interesting.
Because as
thing
Kate
you
says,
have
I'm
to
a grub.
say, but Sound of Metal. So those are your films. I've been your host and will continue to be your host. These will be your
Are
competitors.
you mad at us?
No, why?
I don't know.
About the Rocky Horror Picture thing.
Yeah, and like
Oh,
now
no, that's our Patreon
Tarkovsky
show.
is coming in.
I'm mad. I mean, I do not like the Tarkovsky movie I saw when I was 20 and didn't know how to think about movies.
No one's ever liked a Tarkovsky movie. Like,
Yeah,
it's
we're
going
not
to be
gonna-
awful.
Yeah, watching it's going to be painful, and then but then we're going to be done with the show. We're going to be like, "Oh my god, this is the best movie we've ever seen."
The last time I watched Stalker, it was on at this weird bar, and I was just drinking, staring, and going, "Why is this on screen right now?" So that made me like it more. But you know what?
What's
That
next
is
week,
your
though, Mike?
1975 season. Next week, we are kicking everything off with, you know what? It's somebody already bought a physical copy. It's hard to fight that kind of momentum. It is Barry Lyndon, Governor.
This is going to be our first episode. Is Barry Lyndon? Man, this is such a fun movie. We're really going to enjoy ourselves.
Oh, and just so you guys know, I'm going to have live viewings from 7 to 9 p.m. every night this week of special features. So if you guys want to
I was
tune
going
in.
to say, so you'll watch half the movie every night. But the special features, love it. Barry Lyndon. All right, I did say until then already, which normally shuts them up, but keep watching those movies.